Hello class. So the topic of this lecture is equivalent expressions. So here is the first problem. Select all expressions that are equivalent to 2x plus 3x plus 8 minus 3x minus 2. Your choices are choice A, 2x plus 6, choice B, 2x plus 10, choice C, 5x minus 3x plus 6, and the last choice D, 5x minus 3x plus 10. Go ahead and pause the video and work on this problem. Okay, now that you worked on this problem, let's see if you got the correct answer. So, if you said A and C, that is the correct answer. So what we do is first we try to combine the like terms. So I grouped them together already where you have 2x plus 3x minus 3x. These are all like terms because they all have x by them. And then the numbers that don't have x by them, they are all similar as well. So this is 8 minus 2. These would be combined together. So 3x minus 3x, that is 0. So we're left with just 2x. And then you have 8 minus 2, which is 6. And so since 6 doesn't have an x by it, you cannot combine them together. You cannot do that with additions or subtraction. You can only combine if there is division or multiplication, but you cannot do it with addition and subtraction. So thus 2x plus 6, the same thing as choice A. Choice B is obviously wrong because it says plus 10 and we need a plus 6. And then choice C, we have to combine the like terms. The like terms are 5x minus 3x. So 5 minus 3 is 2, and you have the x by right next to it. So that leaves it with 2x plus 6. The 6 doesn't have an x by it, so we cannot combine these terms. So you're left with 2x plus 6, which is exactly equivalent to this expression. So that's why C is correct. And so D, combining the like terms, the 5x minus 3x, that gives you 2x. And then you have a plus 10. That is what makes it wrong. We need a plus 6, not a plus 10. So thus only A and C are the correct answers. Here's the next problem. Which expression is equivalent to, in parentheses, negative 3 times x plus, in parentheses, negative 3 times, in parentheses, negative 12. And the choices are A, negative 3x plus 36. Choice B, negative 3x minus 36. Choice C, 3x minus 36. And last choice D, 3x plus 36. Go ahead and pause this video and figure out the answer. Okay, now that you figured out the answer, let's see if you got the correct answer. So if you said A, that is the correct answer. So you have negative 3 times x, which gives you negative 3x. Then you have a negative 3 times a negative 12. So a negative times a negative is a positive. And then 3 times 12 is 36. So now you have the expression negative 3x plus 36. That is what you see for choice A. Choice B is wrong because it has a minus 36. You need a plus 36. Choice C is wrong because it has a positive 3x. You need a negative 3x. And choice D is wrong because you have a positive 3x. You need a negative 3x. So, those are the reasons why only choice A is the correct answer. Here's the next problem. Enter the value of P so the expression 4 times within the parentheses n plus 7 is equivalent to, in parentheses, n plus p times 4. And so go ahead and pause the video and work on this problem. Okay, now that you worked on this problem, the value of P is 7. And so there's two ways you can kind of think about it. First, you have to set it up where you have 4, where it's 4 times into parentheses n plus 7. And then you have equivalent, which means equal to n plus P times 4. So what you could do is do the distributive property and multiply 4 times the n, which you have 4n, and then the 4 that's times the 7, so you have 4 times 7. And then do the same thing as far as distributive property, where you have 4 times the n, which you see here, and then 4 times the p, which you see here. You have 4n right here, 4n right here, so that cancels out. And then you have 4 right here and a 4. So the only thing missing is that 7 that is right here. So thus P is equal to 7. Another way of looking at it is if you had in this expression, divide 4 by both sides, you have then you're left with n plus 7 equals n plus p, and thus p will equal to 7. So either way to look at it, that will work. Here is the next problem. Enter the value of n, so the expression 7 within the parentheses 7y plus 6, and then plus the parentheses of 3n minus 2 is equivalent to, within the parentheses, ny plus 4. Go ahead and pause the video and work on this problem. Okay, now that you worked on this problem, the value of n is 10. And so what we did to solve this is first try to combine the like terms. And so you have a 7y and a 3y. So that can be combined together. Then you have a 6, then minus 2. Those two components can be subtracted from each other. And then on the right side, I just got rid of the parentheses. And so 7y plus 3y is equal to 10y, because 7 plus 3 is equal to 10. And you just keep the letter to the side. And then you have 6 minus 2. 6 minus 2 is 4. And so now we see that we have the same format. We have a plus 4, a plus 4. We have a y. A number that is in front of y is 10. Thus, n is equal to 10. And that is how you get to that answer. Here's the next problem. Enter the value of n so that the expression in parentheses 3y plus 1 plus within another parentheses is 2y plus 8 is equivalent to, within the parentheses, ny plus 9. Go ahead and pause the video and work on this problem. Okay, now that you worked on this problem, n is equal to 5. And so you do something that's very similar. First, we combine the like terms. We see 3y and you see 2y. So those two goes together. And you see an 8 and a 1. Those two go together. On the right side, I just got rid of the parentheses. Now we combine this like term of 3y plus 2y, which is equal to 5y. 3 plus 2 is equal to 5. You just attach the y at the end. And then you have 1 plus 8, which is equal to 9. These cannot be combined together because the 9 does not have a y. And thus, when you look at the opposite side, you have a plus 9, a plus 9. You have a y and a y. And then there is a value of n that's in front of the y, which is 5. Thus, you have 5 is equal to n. And that is how you solve this problem. Here's the next problem. Enter the value of n so that the expression within the parentheses 9y minus 8 plus another parentheses y plus 5 is equal to within this parentheses 9y minus 3. Go ahead and work on this problem and pause the video. Okay, now that you worked on this problem, let's see if you got the correct answer. So if you said n is equal to 10, that is correct. And so what you do is take the two expressions and set them equal to each other. And then from there, you combine the like terms. You have a 9y and another y. So you have 9y plus y. Those two are like terms, so I'm just combining them. And then what else you have is negative 8, and you have a plus 5, which is located here. And so those are two terms that will need to be grouped together as well. And then you take away the parentheses on the right side. 9y plus y is equal to 10y, because 9 plus 1 is assumed that there is a 1 in front of the y when there is no number in front of it. You assume that it is 1. So 9 plus 1 is 10. You have the y attached at the end. And then you have a minus 8 plus 5. So that's the same thing as 5 minus 8. And so that is a negative 3. So you do minus 3 because the sign goes to the largest number, which is 8. And so if you do 8 minus 5, which is 3, you got to make sure to attach the minus sign, because that is the sign of that number. And now you have a minus 3, a minus 3. You have the y, you have the y. Then you have n that is directly in front of the y. And you have a 10 on the opposite side that is directly times that y. Thus, n is equal to 10. And that is how you get to that final answer. Okay, here is the next problem. Enter the value of p so that the expression 8 plus 5n is equivalent to p times, within the parentheses, 4 plus 2.5n. Go ahead and pause the video and work on this problem. Okay, now that you worked on this problem, let's see if you got the correct answer. So the value of p is 2. And so what we just did here is did the distributive type of property. The common number right here that we can take out is 2. So if you have 2 times 4, which is equal to 8, the reason why I picked 2, because we have a 4 right here. I thought of what number can I times by 4 to equal 8. That's thus making this 8 being broken up. And so if I do that for 8, I have to do the same thing for 5. So 5 divided by 2 is 2.5. So 2 times 2.5 is 5. And so we see that we have the same structure. We have a number that's outside, which is 2, and you have a p that's outside, and within the parentheses it's exactly the same. You have 4 plus 2.5n, which is the same thing on the right side. Thus, p is equal to 2. That is how you can get to that answer. Here's another problem. Enter the value of b when the expression 10x plus b is equivalent to 2 times, within the parentheses, 5x minus 2. Go ahead and pause the video and work on this problem. Okay, now that you worked on this problem, let's see if you got the correct answer. So if you said b is equal to -4, that is correct. And so what you do is have both of the expressions set to be equal to each other. That's what equivalent means. And then from there, we try to get the right side to be in the same form as the left. Because that is already the simplest it can be, because there is no x attached to the b. So thus, we do distributive property, and you have 2 times the 5x, and then you have 2 that is times the other 2. And I just left the minus out in front. And then from there, 2 times 2 is 4. And 2 times 5 is 10. And you have the x that is attached to it. And now you have 10x minus 4. You have a 10x on the left side, a 10x on the right side. The only difference now is you have a negative 4 on the right side and a b on the left side. Thus, b is equal to negative 4. And that is how you get to that answer. Here is the next problem. Brandon is shown two expressions. 2 times within the parentheses 4x plus 3 and another expression 12x minus 2. Brandon claims that the expressions are equivalent because when x is equal to 2, both expressions are equal to 22. To show that Brandon's claim is false, evaluate each expression when x is equal to 3 into the value of 2 within the parentheses 4x plus 3 when x is equal to 3. Enter your response in the first response box. Enter the value of 12x minus 2 when x is equal to 3. Enter your response in the second response box. Go ahead and pause the video and work on this problem. Okay, now that you worked on this problem, let's see what those two values are for each of the boxes. And so, the first response box is 30, and the second should be inputted as 34. And how do we get to that is, we have the expression 2 times within the parentheses 4x plus 3. That matches what we have written. And now we do the distributive property where you have 2 times the 4x, which is listed here. And then that 2 is also times the 3, which is listed here. And then now we times those two values together. 2 times 4 is equal to 8. And you attach the x at the end. And you have 2 times 3 is equal to 6. And thus you have 8x plus 6. Now you can plug in the value of 3 for x. And so 3 times 8 is equal to 24. And you still have that 6 that is remaining. And so 24 plus 6 is equal to 30. So that is how we get 30. And now for the other expression, we have 12x minus 2, which is correlating to the same expression. And thus, from there, this is already simplified as much as possible. Now we just plug in the value of 3 for x. And so 3 times 12 is equal to 36. And you still have the minus 2. So 36 minus 2 is 34. And that is how you have 34 as the second answer for the second box. And that concludes how to do this problem. And here is the final problem. So Zoe claims that the expression 4n times within the parentheses m minus 2 is equivalent to the expression negative 4m minus 2. Which statement identifies and corrects the error in Zoe's work? Choice A is Zoe did not subtract 2 from negative 4m. The equivalent expression is negative 6m. Choice B, Zoe did not subtract 2 from negative 4. The equivalent expression is negative 4 minus 6. Choice C, Zoe did not find the products of negative 4 and negative 2. The equivalent expression is negative 4m plus 8. And choice D, Zoe did not keep the parentheses around negative 2. The equivalent expression is negative 4 times negative 2. Go ahead and pause the video and work on this problem. Okay, now that you worked on this problem, let's see if you got the correct answer. So if you chose C, that is the correct answer. So how to properly find the equivalence of -4 times within the parentheses m minus 2. That -4, you have to do the distributive property. So you have to multiply -4 times m, which we have right here that we're setting up. And then we have a -4 that is times a -2. And so that is set up right here. And thus, the correct expression would be a -4 times m is -4m. And then -4 times -2 is 8, because a negative times a negative is a positive. And 4 times 2 is 8. But you see, Zoe came up with -4m, which is correct. But all of a sudden, they have a -2 rather than a +8. And so, Zoe did not multiply -4 times the -2. So that is what Zoe did not do. And thus, we have why -4m plus 8 is the correct equivalent. And that concludes the lecture on equivalent expression.